How's it going? Jones Angell here. We are just moments away from the next edition of Carolina Insider Live. We have a great big show to bring you coming up in just a moment. But I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you about a brand new sponsor just for the month of December. It is Dewey's Bakery in Winston-Salem, a North Carolina holiday tradition since, 1930. You can visit Deweys.com right now. Order gift boxes full of Moravian cookie tins, Moravian sugar cake, cheese straws, and other famous Southern and quite delicious treats. That is Deweys.com, Deweys.com. It is a perfect holiday treat. Speaking of holiday treats, let's get going with the Carolina Insider.
Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. We've been gone for the last few weeks due to travel and holidays. Excited to be back with you, however, and we'll be here this week and next week before taking another mini break due to the Christmas holiday and the New Year holiday. And then after that, get ready for us in 2021. But for today, I'm Jones, he's Adam, and we have a fun 30 minutes coming up. We're going to talk Tar Heels, a bunch going on between football, men's basketball, women's basketball. We have our social drive coming up, and in fact, it is the women's basketball side of things where our guest comes from today. Graduate transfer Petra Holesinska is going to join us and talk a little bit about the 5-0 start to the season, plus a big ACC matchup against Wake Forest coming up tonight for Courtney Bankhart and her team. But Adam, let's start with football because a couple things have happened since we last met here on the show. Tar Heels had a super competitive game against Notre Dame in which they fell just short against the number 2 and undefeated Fighting Irish. And then, as you would expect, Carolina took care of business against Western Carolina, scored a touchdown on 6 of its first 7 possessions, led 42-3 at halftime, and ended up winning 49-9.
I think the book's not closed on that Notre Dame game yet because you want to see how Carolina builds on that this weekend at Miami. It's a similar opportunity, and we'll talk more about that shortly, but I think you'll know more about how you feel about that game once you see how the Tar Heels play down against the Hurricanes. The Western Carolina game was as advertised. Mac Brown said everyone on the bench got to play. First game ever in his coaching career in which he hasn't sent the starters back out for the start of the second half, so everybody able to get some repetitions and some snaps and a big win.
Adam, that Western Carolina game was also senior day in Chapel Hill. And there are some really important players in this senior class, some familiar names, guys like Chaz Surratt and Daz Newsome, Tamon Fox, Patrice Renee, and also Michael Carter. And in just a second, we're going to hear a clip from Phil Longo. He was asked about Michael during his press conference earlier this week. And as you'll see from Coach Longo, he, like so many people around Carolina football, speaks so highly of Michael Carter.
I think friends of the pod feel like they've seen Michael Carter grow and gotten to know him over these last couple years. He's been a frequent guest. He's been on basically every kind of pod there is. Recommend you go back and listen to the Jake Lawler interview also for some perspective on what kind of person Michael Carter is. But also this quote from Phil Longo, it just tells you everything you need to know about how a coach feels about a player and how important a player has been to an entire team.
Michael is, it's a tough one. Michael is extremely valuable to this program. And, he brings it every day on the field. He is a shining example on the field of what you want from an effort and a commitment and a preparation standpoint. Not only does he bring great effort on the field, but he's always prepared. He always knows what's going on defensively. The most boring of drills all the way up to the most exciting team sessions, he's giving you the same effort. It doesn't change, and he's got the same energy off the field, and he's just such a high character guy. Such a great person to have in your locker room from a mentality standpoint and a culture standpoint.
Michael Carter and the Tar Heels, Adam, now heading down to Miami, taking on the number 10 Hurricanes this upcoming weekend. And, so much of the talk around ACC football this year has been focused on Clemson and Notre Dame, and understandably so. They're both in the college football playoff rankings, top 4 right now, both terrific programs with terrific histories, all those different things, and the uniqueness of Notre Dame being in the league this year. That Miami's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. You know, the only game they've lost is at Clemson, 8-1 coming in to this weekend, and just a really impressive football team. And
I think they've gotten better as the season has gone along. I think at the start of the year they weren't overly impressive and you forgot about them a little bit, but man, you look at them now, they are a force. They're ranked in the top 10 in the college football playoff rankings. And Mac Brown has said pretty much all week, this is the best defensive front more than likely Carolina will face. Going to be a big challenge for that Tar Heel offensive line. So a lot of challenges in Miami, but as we talked about earlier, you hope that you learned from what you did and didn't do against Notre Dame. Maybe you do it differently down at Miami. And it's a great opportunity for Carolina. I mean, we're here on basically the last week of the regular season, and Carolina's got a chance to play a big game on a national stage with some big stakes, and that's a great opportunity. That's why you play the season. That's where you want to be.
De'Aaron King, the quarterback for Miami, just a terrific player. 20 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions, nearly 500 yards rushing. He's the second leading rusher for Miami as a team, so a true dual threat quarterback who can really hurt you, and somebody that Carolina will have to be prepared for coming up Saturday. It's a 3:30 kick. We'll be on the air radio-wise at 2:30. And Adam, you mentioned this, a great opportunity for the Tar Heels going on the road against a top 10 ranked team. Those opportunities don't come around very often. In fact, the last time the Tar Heels won one of these games on the road against a top 10 team was during Mac Brown's first tenure. Got to go back to 1996 in a win over Syracuse. And this is the famous Hurricane Fran game where Hurricane Fran was coming through North Carolina, had really caused some severe damage, and the Heels went up to Syracuse and the Carrier Dome picked up a huge win.
Former pod guest Chris Keldorf with a touchdown pass right there to Freddie Jones, and then just an incredible locker room celebration. I think it was in this locker room celebration, Mac Brown actually gave the game ball to the people of the state of North Carolina who were all at home. Most everybody didn't have power, so they were huddled around the generators to try to listen on the radio. There's some incredible raising of the roof in this. Mac Brown's got on a really nice Apex One shirt, I think.
Yeah.
Raise the roof.
Yeah, you in the mid to late 90s Tar Heels getting it done.
I was totally trying to figure out what they were doing, and I thought I would go do that and make it look cool. And as you just saw, 25 years later,
you've still achieved it,
I
Adam.
have perfected it.
All right, Adam, with a team that has had success like the Tar Heels have, you are going to put yourself in position for some individual awards as well, and that has certainly been the case for the Tar Heels. A lot of the national awards starting to announce their semi-finalists as they pare down these lists, and you see 2 there for the Maxwell Award. That is the best all-around player in college football. Both Javonte Williams and Sam Howell making that semi-finalist list. Howell also on the Davey O'Brien semi-finalist list. That is for the nation's top quarterback. Certainly he deserves to be in that discussion. And great to see Javonte Williams also make the Doak Walker Award semifinalist list. He was not on the initial list for the Doak Walker Award, so his name added thanks to the terrific year that he has had. But those are only, Adam, a couple of the Heels that are being singled out.
Even more players getting some individual recognition. De'Ami Brown is on the Bolitnikoff Award list, of course, the best receiver in college football, and he's had a great year. And then on the defensive side, Chaz Surratt on the Lott Trophy list for the Defensive Impact Player of the Year, which I think everyone would agree. Chaz Surratt with a huge impact for that Carolina defense. So a lot of Tar Heels on lists. This is how you win awards like this. You get on the list and then move up each year. Now, Chaz Surratt, Jones, in addition to the Lott Award, got another little token of Carolina appreciation this week. Came over to the Smith Center and saw Roy Williams. As you might remember, Chaz Surratt possibly was going to play basketball at Carolina. He ended up not having time because he was so busy making tackles and throwing passes over at Kiernan Stadium, but came by and saw Roy Williams this week. Roy Williams presented him with a Chaz Surratt basketball jersey, which just a really cool example of what the Carolina family is. There's no reason that Roy Williams needed to do that, but the fact that he did and the fact that Chaz was able to come over and they were able to spend some time together, great example of how things work in the Carolina Athletic Department, how everybody works together.
Man, what a big congratulations for the Surratt family. They're going to have two of their sons that are going to be drafted in the NFL draft here coming up in the spring, Chaz included. So congratulations to them. Hope he finishes the year out strong as we expect him to. Adam, talking about basketball a bit, Carolina has had a really difficult start to the season as far as the schedule. Of course, started with College of Charleston, then 3 games in 3 days in Asheville as part of the Maui Invitational. That included matchups with UNLV, Stanford, and Texas. Most recently, Carolina on the road at the number 3 team in the nation, that is Iowa. Probably the best team Iowa has had in decades. And Carolina gave the Hawkeyes a good punch, but a veteran quality team in Iowa able to withstand Carolina's push, and a big run for the Hawkeyes in the second half. 16-2 ended up earning them a 13-point victory.
Too many Iowa three-pointers, too many North Carolina turnovers. You put those two things together, tough to win that game on the road, but great experience for a young team. Iowa, first time ever that a Carolina opponent has had 3 different players make at least 5 three-pointers.
Wow.
I think you kind of lost track of that during the game, that it was really 3 Hawkeyes doing all that damage from the perimeter, and they did do a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Carolina turning the ball over 18 times, enabled Iowa to start their offense a little more quickly than they otherwise might have. And Carolina's just got to get a handle on some of the careless turnovers. A young team's going to commit some, but some of the dribbling the ball up the court and kicking it out of bounds, that needs to be eliminated, and perhaps it will as the Tar Heels move forward. But as Jones said, you've had no cushion whatsoever in this start to the season, and you'd like, especially for a young team, to have some of those games where they have the opportunity to learn.
17 three-pointers made in the game by Iowa. That ties the most ever by a Tar Heel opponent when Roy Williams has been Carolina's head coach. By the way, show brought to you by Wells Fargo. When our communities need us, Wells Fargo is here to help. Adam, some schedule news from Tar Heel basketball side of things. Of course, the Elon game, which was originally scheduled for this upcoming Saturday at 3 o'clock. A week or so ago, there was announced that that game would be postponed due to COVID problems within the Elon basketball program. And so the Tar Heels have been scrambling, trying to figure out if they could add a game sometime in that similar time frame. And we just found out that indeed the Heels have, as they'll be hosting North Carolina Central here in the Smith Center.
If there's one thing we've learned from 2020, it's keep your head on a scheduling swivel. And that's what's happened, and we just talked about the Tar Heels need a little bit of cushion in that schedule. You hope maybe this will be the chance you get to come home. A lot of other teams have played a lot of home games. Carolina's only played the one so far. They'll now play Central on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Maybe a chance to certainly see a familiar face in LaVelle Moton, but also a chance for those young players to work through some things, because more challenging games on the horizon as Carolina has to face Ohio State next Saturday in Cleveland.
And that's the final non-conference game of the season. It's nothing but ACC games after that for the Tar Heels, so certainly a unique schedule to be sure. All right, Adam, let's turn the page to the women's basketball side of things. The women 5-0. They are through the non-conference portion of their schedule. They start ACC play tonight, and we're bringing in just a moment Petra Holesinska to help us talk a little bit about it.
This team's fun to watch. They're young. They've got 4 freshmen in their top 7. Undefeated through the first 5, but it'll get much tougher tonight at Wake, and then they'll have to go to Louisville this weekend, one of the best teams in the country and a really good program. Carolina has won some blowouts early on. They've won some close games. They were behind to Charlotte in the final 2 minutes most recently and came back and won that game. We'll see what that enables them to do in the ACC, but as Petra will talk about, this is a tough league, tough games every single night from here on out.
So let's get to our conversation. She's originally from the Czech Republic, started her college career at Illinois, and is now a Tar Heel. Let's get to our conversation with Petra Holesinska.
It's not even Christmas yet. It might not feel like it, but it's ACC basketball time tonight. Carolina women's team is headed to Wake Forest to play this evening. Petra Holesinska has joined us to tell us a little about the team. Petra, your team has played a lot of games already. How you feeling about the Tar Heels through the first 5 games of the year?
Obviously I feel great with all 5 games, but we know that the ACC teams are going to be so much better. So, we're just focusing on Wake Forest right now, and then Louisville this weekend.
All right, Petra, for those who don't know, Petra's taken a long journey to get to Carolina, originally from the Czech Republic, right? I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then started your career at Illinois before now finishing as a grad transfer here at Carolina. When you were trying to make a decision on where you wanted to go for this grad transfer year, why was Carolina the right place for you?
I think there's multiple reasons. Obviously, Coach Banghart is a really great coach. We actually played against her last year, so I knew the team a little bit. And then, honestly, I just wanted to play on another level. I feel like Carolina can definitely, win a lot of games in the ACC and probably make the tournament. So that was definitely one of the reasons why I chose Carolina, just to play on a different level.
What were the challenges of trying to make that decision with everything else going on pandemic-wise when there's so much going on away from basketball, but you're trying to make such an important basketball and life decision?
Yeah, so it was definitely really hard. So basically everything got canceled the day after I announced my transfer, so I couldn't visit. I was just kind of waiting. At first they were like, oh, it might be a couple weeks, but then it ended up being months. So I was like, I'll probably not be able to take any visits. So everything was just through Zoom and FaceTime. So that was definitely kind of hard. But I feel like Coach Banghart still really did a great job of, connecting with me and getting to know me. And that was really important for me.
Coach Banghart's had a lot of success in building program and recruiting in this first year plus. What is it about her and the way she presents the program that's been so appealing and makes good players like you want to be part of it?
I would say it's just her personality. I feel like we're really similar as people. Plus, obviously, she's a really good coach, and she just tells you how it is. She's very honest. She's not going to lie to you about what you're going to do with the program. She tells you what your role is going to be, and I really like that about her.
So this is there's just a lot of new pieces on this team as Coach Banghart is trying to build this team in her image and the way that she wants to play. You are an older player on the team, but also this is your first year at Carolina. How have you tried to balance all of that, being an older player, but also understanding that you're new to what's happening here in Chapel Hill?
I would say I definitely had to adjust quicker than, the freshmen. So that was kind of what was expected from me. I played college basketball for 4 years, and I feel like that was, one of the reasons why Coach Banghart wanted me to come here, just, bring my experience and leadership. So I definitely had to adjust quicker than everybody else.
How does that show up on the court? People always talk about experience and leadership. Where does that manifest itself when you're actually playing basketball and you've done it so many times before some of these freshmen haven't? What do you know that they don't know?
I would say, one thing, being vocal. I feel like coming from high school, not a lot of kids are used to that. So that's one thing. And then just knowing the game a little better. Probably you guys know at this level, it's really about details. So just, knowing the little things like how to set a screen, how to make the right read. So probably just helping the freshmen with that kind of stuff.
What does this team do well? Like if somebody's going to watch you guys for the first time tonight or here in the near future, when they leave that game, they're going to go, man, the Tar Heels are really good at X. What would that be?
I would definitely have multiple things, but I would say probably just playing hard. I feel like we have full of people that can play hard. Everybody can step in, make shots, make the right plays. And I feel like that's definitely going to be our advantage, just, having that balanced scoring and just everybody being able to actually play.
That's what they'd go, Adam, they'd say, that Petra can really shoot the ball. She can hoop out there.
That's right.
That's what they're going to leave saying. Come on, you got to boost yourself up, Petra.
Off the court, I know Coach Banghart's trying to touch on a bunch of different causes this season that are important to all of you. And I think last week was Down syndrome, which I think is important to you. Why so? And what did y'all do as a team to sort of get that word out?
Yeah, so it's definitely important to me. I actually got to connect with one of our fans, Rachel, and her son Kendall has Down syndrome. And, since the summer, I've been spending a lot of time with them and just, getting to know him, how great he is, and, how much energy he brings. That's definitely why I chose that cause. And so we got to actually talk to some kids and people from JG's Playhouse in Raleigh. obviously had to be through Zoom, so it was kind of hard, but we still really enjoyed it as a team.
Hey, I know Kendall loves the Tar Heels. I know Rachel and Kendall. Kendall is all in on the Heels. He's my guy. So what a great cause and wonderful relationship for Petra and the Tar Heels to have with a terrific family there, and then also Gigi's Playhouse, which does such great work for Down syndrome. I've worked with them in the past too. That's just an awesome organization. All right, Petra, take us through here. What needs to happen before we let you go? The next few weeks here, what do you want to see from yourself individually and from the Tar Heels as a team as you hope to continue to grow here through ACC play?
Individually, I would say probably just, being a leader. Obviously, everyone is expecting me to hit shots, so that's one thing, and just kind of helping the team to win, honestly. And then as a team, obviously we play Wake tonight, so that's kind of a must win for us. We're definitely focusing on their two best players, and then Louisville. I mean, they're number 2 in the country right now, so that's definitely a challenge, but we're not worried about that.
That's Petra Holesinska, nice enough to join us here on the Carolina Insider. Petra, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the terrific start to the season, and we can't wait to watch you guys as you move through ACC play.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate Petra's time here on the show, and Carolina women's basketball tips off tonight against Wake Forest. That's in Winston-Salem. It's a 7 o'clock start between the Tar Heels and Demon Deacons. All right, let's get to our social drive presented by, Adam didn't forget, he's just had a few weeks off. Presented by Coca-Cola. Taste better together. Coca-Cola, proud partner of Carolina Athletics. And Adam, we start with a former pod guest, as Ben Kiernan was on the show a couple of weeks ago. And by the way, before we get to this gives us a good opportunity. We've been working hard on this. We now have a full YouTube playlist of all the previous Carolina Insider video pods available. So if you need to go back and catch up, if you want to rewatch one of the interviews that we've been able to do, you can do that now on YouTube, and Carolina Insider playlist right there, so you can see all the shows that we've had up to this point. Now, to that point, Ben Kiernan was a former guest here on the show, and Adam, Carolina in the Notre Dame game had the opportunity to have some different messages in addition to their names, or maybe in place of their names on the back of their jerseys, and a unique choice for Ben Kiernan, to be sure.
I couldn't tell what was on Ben Kiernan's jersey in that game. I could tell it didn't say Kiernan.
Right.
And it didn't say some of the other things that the other Tar Heel players had on there. But as we see from our frequent good friends, the Embassy of Ireland, when he was lining out against Notre Dame football, he had the Irish word for equality, which Jones said that he really wants to try to pronounce.
Yes. Well, I will say this. Ben Kiernan lined out big time in that game. He was a little more active than probably the Tar Heels would have liked to him have been as far as the number of punts, but he did a great job pinning the Fighting Irish back. You'll have to subscribe to the Platinum feed for us to properly pronounce all those Irish words, or we'll get Ben back on here to say it. But one thing we talked about, Adam, when Ben was with us, was the striking similarity between Ben Kiernan and Sam Howell as far as how they look. And look at this, people are starting to realize it out there in internet land.
Yeah, I'm not sure the ACC network even picked up on this, but of course the loyal pod listeners and viewers did. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. That's when they each joined us here on the show.
Yeah, that's from the pod right there. If they didn't have on the different shirts, you wouldn't know. There was some chatter in the pod research department that perhaps Ben Kiernan just looks like a European Sam Howell.
Yeah, he's really into footy over there on the other side of the screen. So.
He's going out to get some bangers and mash after this.
Both those guys have had terrific years, of course, and we appreciate both their time. And again, you can go back and watch all the former podcasts that we have put out there through YouTube. Okay, speaking of having quality years, how about the Cleveland Browns? They are 9-3. We bring this up because former Tar Heel M.J. Stewart had a big play in the Browns' victory over the Titans this past weekend.
Could not squeeze it.
Ball hits him, and he has a chance to pull it in before the hit from Mitchell gets there. But when he double caught it, tried to double catch it on the bounce, that's when the hit from Mitchell came from the backside, and that forced the ball up, and an opportunity was taken by Stewart.
And it turns into a gift for M.J. Stewart.
Big play there by Stewart. Big win for the Cleveland Browns as well. So many Tar Heels in the NFL. Sometimes when it's good for one, it's not good for the other. Arthur Smith has done a terrific job as the offensive coordinator, former Tar Heel offensive lineman. He's the OC for Tennessee, has done such a great job there. Didn't have the result he wanted this past weekend because of MJ Stewart and others, but both those teams having fantastic years. And Adam, another Tar Heel in the NFL having a terrific season is Mack Hollins, and doing it in a very Mack Hollins kind of way. He's had some big plays offensively, but if I named one Tar Heel who had a good chance to go to the Pro Bowl for special teams, I think you would say Mack Hollins.
You'd say Mack Hollins, and you can vote for him by retweeting this tweet that you see here. What I thought was nice of Mack is that he cut my head off, but he still used my arm in the tweet. So I thought that was nice. But definitely go retweet Mack Hollins so that he can maybe get a chance at going to the Pro Bowl for the Dolphins.
All right, let's turn the page from football to basketball. And speaking of awards, a very deserved one for one of the best ever to play at Carolina, as Antoine Jameson, it was recently announced, would be heading into the College Basketball Hall of Fame. He is the 12th Tar Heel to be elected to that hall. And Adam, that makes total sense. Antoine Jameson, as we said, one of the best ever to do it for the Tar Heels.
You can get lost in Antoine Jameson video on YouTube from his Carolina days. If you didn't grow up seeing him play, or you don't remember seeing him play as a Tar Heel, go look. He was unbelievable. And in addition to being in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, also in the Hall of Fame for looking exactly the same today as he did in 1998. He has not aged one day. He has not lived through a pandemic, unlike some of the rest of us, evidently, gents.
Yeah, we can show the wear and tear here on the Carolina Insider for sure. But, I mean, what made Antoine Jameson so remarkable was how quickly he could do something with the basketball, where he would have the ball in his hands for less than a second, and all of a sudden the points are up and he's getting fouled and going to the free throw line. Just a terrific, terrific player. I think, Adam, if you make the short list for Carolina basketball, he's got to be on it.
Oh, yeah, he's on your Mount Rushmore or your 5 players that you're picking, whatever you want. There was the famous SportsCenter clip where I think it was Jay Billis put together the amount of time that Antoine actually had the ball in his hands against Duke at the Smith Center relative to the 30-plus points he scored. And I think people underestimate his NBA career as well. The clip made the rounds in the last couple weeks of the game where he and Kobe Bryant went back and forth, each scoring 50-plus, and Antoine had actually scored 50-plus the night before. So just no big deal, back-to-back 50-plus games in the NBA. You can't do that if you can't score.
Adam, speaking of basketball, found this piece online, a really neat one, as you see Dagon Box Score is the one who tweeted it out originally, about some comments from John Thompson and Dean Smith, two absolute legends of the game. Of course, this is at halftime during the 1987 Final Four. They were being asked about the three-point shot. Let's hear what two legendary coaches had to say.
Well, first of all, we have the three-point shot. Coach Thompson, what do you think of it here in the tournament this year?
Well, I started off not liking the three-point shot, to be very honest with you, but as the year went on, I was a little bit more excited about it, but if I had my preference, I would do without the three-point shot.
Coach Smith?
Well, I got the blame, I guess, because I've been a proponent of the three-point shot, just because we have a time clock. We need both of them. I think they go together. And if Providence made more three-pointers, it would have been a closer game. I think it's good for the game, and I'm sure it will continue. I don't know at what length.
Adam, it's fascinating to watch that clip and hear those two coaches talk about that. I think also it just, as if you needed a 1/1,000th reminder about the basketball mind that was Dean Smith, talking about the need for that shot with the introduction of the shot clock as well, and just how he just understood basketball like so few have.
And I think that speaks directly to the premise at the time was that Dean Smith was against the three-point shot. And he kept saying over and over that he was in favor of it as long as you had the shot clock to go with it. He felt like those two things went together. A couple other things from that clip. Number one, Jim Nantz, not far from a mullet.
Yeah, that was a pretty impressive look there. Classy, though. Very classy.
Oh, yes, no doubt, my friends. And then secondly, John Thompson's autobiography is out. Maybe this week. It's out this month. It's called I Came as a Shadow. It's supposed to be really good, and I have not read it yet, but I understand there's some stuff in there about his relationship with Coach Smith, and we know those two, in addition to be coaching against each other, great personal friends, and I'm sure that's going to be interesting as well.
Little did Coach Smith know that Iowa was going to make 17 three-pointers, 30 some odd years later, but that's okay.
Retroactively, we'd like to push that line back or just eliminate the rule altogether.
All right, two more things here before we go, Adam. Let's start with Jeopardy, and this made the rounds late last week. Mac Brown announcing that his daughter, Catherine, she's now Catherine Ryan through marriage, was going to be on Jeopardy, and what an awesome showing. She won on the episode that aired last Friday, ended up falling on the one that came on Monday of this week. But how cool is that? Catherine Ryan, Mac Brown's daughter, with success on Jeopardy.
She won on what is Malta in Final Jeopardy on that Friday episode. We don't care what she lost on Monday because that's not important. What's important is that she is a Jeopardy champion. Not many people can say that.
Now, this is big-time research. I'm going to read this right off our script here. We've got Catherine, 31 correct answers, 5 incorrect, 1 for 1 on rebound attempts. I don't know what that means, but that's good. 27% on first buzzer, 2 for 2 on daily doubles, 1 for 2 in Final Jeopardy. Adam, those are stats you can be proud of.
That's advanced analytics about your Jeopardy experience.
All right, we go from Jeopardy to pickleball. That's where we will finish things up here on it. The Carolina Insider saw this one out there recently. Adam, Julie Foudy, of course, an all-time terrific women's soccer player on the national level, playing pickleball. You see Anson Dorrance, Ginny Levy, two of the terrific coaches here at Carolina. And we've heard about pickleball from Coach Dorrance. Even when he was here on this show, I think he talked about how he had started to fall in love with this sport. And so the heat wave is catching on in the pickleball world.
I don't understand much about pickleball, but what I do understand is that I would get dominated on that court right there by any one of those individuals. I also understand pickleball starting to get a little bigger in the basketball realm.
Oh.
Eric Hoots, the well-known unicycle rider, a big proponent of pickleball.
By the other person in that picture was Donovan. That was Coach Anson Dorrance's son as well in that photo for pickleball. Well, we have covered it from A to Z today here on the Carolina Insider. So a reminder, we are back next week with one more show before the Christmas holiday. We'll have that show. We're off for 2 weeks and then back again at the beginning of the 2021 calendar year, where everything's going to be all right. So we're looking forward to that, to be back with you. But for now, we say goodbye on another edition of the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.